I'm a senior writer at Decrypt. I am not LV, who was going to cover this, but I'm here now. So let's go down real quick. Guys, kind of give us like the one-sentence description of what you do. We do have 15 minutes. We're going to try to go really fast. Michael,
Sure, I'm Michael Bressler. I lead business development at GSR. We're a leading cryptocurrency market-making firm. We talk to many of the top token protocols, funds, exchanges, and we're often in discussions with many traditional financial firms about taking their first steps into the world of digital assets.
I'm Vance. I'm the founder of Framework. I'm also a pretty notable Link Marine, I think. If you've been around long enough, you probably know who I am.
I'm Michael Novotny, co-founder CEO of Krypton. We're basically trying to revolutionize the decentralized exchange market. So fundamentally, reducing trading inefficiency and cost close to zero. That's going to reignite growth in the DeFi market, targeting best execution, and is going to lead to new possibilities, things that haven't been possible in finance at all.
All right. So I just did an interview a little earlier, and someone said something really interesting about DeFi, so I kind of want to put it to you guys to get your thoughts. That as bad as spring was this year for some of the crypto space, it was actually great for DeFi because everyone is looking back and saying, gee, wouldn't it have been nice if we had more, transparency and knew what was going on at some of these companies? So I'm curious to know, are you optimistic? Do you think this has actually been like a good year for DeFi and we're going to come out as stronger?
I think it's been a pretty good year, and I see, DeFi broadly kind of reigniting itself right now. Mm-hmm. The credit market's rebuilding with things like Maple and XMargin, where you actually have visibility into okay, how collateralized is someone that you're borrowing and lending from? So that's great. You're starting to see things around new types of DEXs and order books that can actually push the space forward versus 30 basis points in slippage on Uniswap. And there's a lot of positive stuff happening, but the thing that you have to remember about DeFi is that it's super levered to the cycle. And what does that mean? You have people that go and trade on these DEXs because of the things that are happening around them. People don't go to Uniswap just to hang out with Uniswap. They go to Uniswap because there's interesting tokens trading around them. And so you kind of need to take a long-term perspective on DeFi. It's going to come back. It's going to be okay. We need to innovate and push the industry forward. But a lot of it is going to be taken care of by just crypto coming back writ large. And that's what levered to the cycle really means.
Yeah, Michael on the end. I know you have some interesting things and thoughts on tech and how tech is really going to be critical to kind of getting DeFi going again. Can you tell us about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So fundamentally speaking, I believe that the DeFi ecosystem we have seen, like DeFi 1.0, the AMMs, all the types of peer-to-peer protocols, they were really a consequence of severe technical limitations that existed in the blockchain space. So at a time when basically the only decentralized ecosystem was Ethereum, everyone wanted to make transactions there, and everyone competed for block space. So that resulted in high gas fees. So if you want to be successful as a dApp, as any kind of mechanism, you had to minimize gas fees by doing the simple-most computation that's possible. That's what gave us the AMM. But this situation is no longer true, certainly as of 2022. There are now plenty of scaling solutions that can be used that bring the cost of executing smart contracts or hybrid smart contracts in a trustless, decentralized way close to zero. And so what we're doing is we're basically implementing a much more efficient, much more economically efficient, much more cost-efficient trading mechanism in a decentralized framework, and that brings a much higher computational requirement. It doesn't matter because we can do it on Chainlink decentralized oracles. Mm-hmm. So our hypothesis is that over the next few years, all of those peer-to-peer protocols that use simplistic smart contracts on-chain to work on behalf of their users of a liquidity pool, these mechanisms are going to go away and are going to be replaced by fully market-based solutions, essentially peer-to-peer protocols. Both sides to a trade are fully flexible, not managed by a predictable smart contract.
I'd add, I think identity and security, when you think about DeFi, get a lot of the headlines. And we see that all the time. And we're going to need to get traditional money into this space for that to be a more manageable, less scary hurdle. But when you look at Krypton, what we're excited about at GSR is it really mirrors some of the things that we've seen, particularly in equities trading, where, if you ever read the book Flash Boys, and there was this arms race to, get the fastest trade so you could get the execution before anyone else. Those become costs. Those are costs borne by pension funds, by mutual funds, by retail investors. And what's exciting to us at GSR is we look at Krypton, that technology renders MEV essentially worthless or impossible because the trades are executed across time rather than in a burst that just rewards the miner.
So I want to ask, and specifically with you, like, what else are you seeing in the DeFi space that, gets you really excited? And, what's attracting your eye just in terms of like, what you want to invest in?
I mean, we're speaking to new people every single day. It's very exciting. Everybody wants yield. It's a little bit easier to get yield now that the Fed has moved rates up from 0, but people still want yield. And nothing has changed, whether it's DeFi or traditional markets. People want return, but it's return adjusted to risk. Again, if I send a package to you internationally, FedEx, and it doesn't get there, I'm probably not going to get in trouble, right? But if I send it by Vance delivery and it doesn't get there, people are going to be like, why'd you do that, right? Mm-hmm. We need to get it to the point where DeFi is not as scary, where a fund manager or a pool of capital can allocate and feel confident that they're not going to have, first of all, loss of security, and then that they're going to have great returns. And I think people often don't understand what's going on behind the scenes across these various decentralized exchanges and the slippage that actually occurs, and it is real performance cost. And Michael, being the professor that he is, he really zeroed in, focused on this, and the Krypton team has come up with a really great solution.
Okay. And then Vance and, I'm so sorry, but other Michael, because I can't get away from
I'm the other
doing it. Okay.
You're the other Michael.
I can't get away from doing it on this panel. You said something interesting, which is that the way to get things going, to get things moving, is to start bringing some more TradFi money into the space. I think sometimes that can be kind of controversial among DeFi folks. Like, I've talked to some DeFi people who say we don't need TradFi. TradFi can stay where it is and keep doing what it's been doing. So I want to ask the two of you, do you think we need that to see DeFi really take off?
Yes and no. So a thought experiment would be, let's say the price of ETH went up 2x tomorrow. What would happen to the fundamentals of DeFi? They would be 2x better, just because you'd have that much more collateral and value locked in the system. But you hit some sort of invisible asymptote eventually where there just is no more endogenous crypto capital to import. And so on a longer term time horizon, you actually do need TradFi. And doing things, or at least not doing anything that won't allow you to be regulated at any point in time, and having a playbook that plays nice with institutional capital and having like a real team that can actually sell and bring this stuff on chain is super important. I think we've learned a lot of lessons over the past 3 years about DeFi, what are the parts that are important? What are the parts that we want to keep? What are the things that we probably want to change? And I think that DeFi can exist in an open context with traditional finance still integrated into it. And I don't believe we actually need to make any sacrifices. There will be overseas Fi, there will be US Fi. The US Fi will fall under some sort of regulatory jurisdiction. And the more integrated you are with the traditional banking system in the US, the better.
So my feeling is that at some point there will not be a separation between TradFi and DeFi. Mm-hmm. All types of existing securities will simply be tokenized, and then TradFi is going to be, DeFi is going to be the global standard for trading. Mm-hmm. It's simply a better way, a more cost-effective way, saving on the cost of verification, to have this public, immutable ledger, which is the blockchain.
Right.
We just need to find a way to make it cost-effective, make it attractive to users. My guess is TradFi is not going away. There are things they can do that maybe a smart contract can't do or shouldn't do. And there are other aspects of TradFi where we will have automated asset management to some extent, non-information-based trading. And so I believe that there is a world where both can coexist, and we can use them as a society to the best of their advantage, basically, best of our advantage.
How close do you guys think we are to getting where, TradFi and DeFi don't feel like they're two completely distinct camps?
I don't, similar to Michael, I don't necessarily delineate it. I just, the same way I think about digital assets, it's just getting over that hurdle of use cases and people having their wallets and getting from having nothing or not owning a wallet to having a wallet. Look, I think we still have a ways to go, but that's exciting. I think it's really exciting because it's incumbent upon everyone in this room who's already here to educate their friends, their family, and get them to start to see the opportunities and utilize them. And I really don't think there's that big a distinction. I think it won't be linear in adoption either. There'll be like kind of these steps where different things happen where there's a use case which really excites people. And I've been really encouraged by some of the different media blitzes that we've seen from various users where we saw just huge signups or adoptions, whether it's on a centralized exchange or for a wallet. So I'm very optimistic, and I just think it's going to take time, but it's a steady growth with nice bursts up.
Okay. And then Vance, I want to hit on something you said earlier, which is like, as we're moving into the next phase of DeFi, we have to figure out, okay, what do we want to come along? What do we want to leave behind? What are your thoughts on what should be left behind?
What should be left behind? I think this year, the most interesting projects that I see are focused on, it's probably a bad way to put it, but like the existential questions of blockchains, like is MEV good or bad? Should it exist in a protocol context? Should you give it back to a user? Like proposal block builder separation, staking, like these are like serious existential questions. And I think focusing on those is better than what we did last year, which was like, we launched like, 5,000 protocols. And to be fair, like that's the business that we're in, where I know that you have to throw 5,000 startups against the wall to get 50 to work. But we've kind of learned from that, and we're reorienting towards a space that has more endogenous value. And I think that's pretty positive. So, what do you leave behind? Probably like the copy-paste, low-effort projects. What do you take with you? Projects like Krypton, projects like Maple, projects like Jito and Flashbots and things like that. I think those are going to be super powerful.
Yeah, and then, I want to hit both the Michaels, if you can, and real quickly, because we're coming down on time, what do you think we should take forward with us as we enter this next phase of DeFi?
So I would say as the space matures, it's no longer just about getting something to work, getting from 0 to 1. Other projects have done that. DeFi exists. It's just massively inefficient, massively capital inefficient, massively economically inefficient. And so I think what we need is the best ideas from economics, understanding economics, the best idea from computer science, the best idea from software engineering, to wrap it into kind of the best version of the world that we can produce. And so going forward, I believe that it is going to be an interdisciplinary effort. So on our team, we have 14 people. We have one of each. Like we have an economics professor, Pierre-Olivier Weil. We have a theoretical computer scientist. We have very seasoned software engineers, people who are very experienced in infrastructure. And my belief is that this is the way to move forward. That's the way to go forward. And in terms of the things that we can leave behind, we have the blockchain, right? So that's wonderful. We should use it. The blockchain can demonstrate that, or that it can prove that the funds that an asset manager claims they actually do have. So no Bernie Madoff type situation, right? We can program smart contracts to manage assets on the part of investors relatively inexpensively. And we can guarantee that these assets are managed in a way that is in accordance with the prospectus of the fund manager, right? So those things won't happen. And so what these strategies are, is basically open to the expertise, to the experience of those fund managers. These things would not be possible without something like Krypton, because if you put an automated money manager on chain, then what they're going to do is completely predictable. So they are front-runnable. If you have a solution that doesn't do that, then that moves the asset management space forward. It enables things that have not been possible before. Better risk sharing, dynamic trading strategies that we've been thinking about in economics for decades, but haven't been possible in practice. So that's my hope for the future.
All right, you have the unenviable task of trying to answer this question for the third time. So what would you leave behind?
What I'd leave behind is just the controversy of trust. Right? I mean, it really is just a real roadblock for people. And every time we see something go wrong, it really is a great setback. I mean, I was looking at the MEV this morning, of a number of Eastern Flashbots, and I found it pretty interesting when the answer back from the hacker was, well, I'll return the money if you return all the money that you took out of the MEV. And it made me laugh, but then after I thought about it and I said, this is just, it's not great. It's not great. We don't have these issues for many people on a daily basis. And so we're going to have to smooth that out and try and leave
Yeah.
that behind to move much more forward.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, all of you, for being here. And everyone else, enjoy the rest of your SmartCon. Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.